Hello, and welcome to RIP News. Today, May 30th, 2025, we bring you a somber episode as we mourn the loss of 9 American legends who passed away in the last 24 hours. Join us as we pay tribute to their incredible lives and legacies. If this resonates with you, please like, support, and subscribe to our channel for more heartfelt tributes. Thank you for being here. Bernard Kerik. How does a 9/11 hero become a convicted felon? Bernard Kerik's story is one of staggering highs and shocking lows. From a gritty New Jersey upbringing, he joined the NYPD in 1986, climbing to commissioner by 2000. On September 11, 2001, Kerik stood at ground zero, leading New York's police through chaos, earning him the title America's Cop. But that wasn't the whole story. While hailed as a hero, Kerik was using a Battery Park City apartment, meant for exhausted first responders, for 2 simultaneous affairs. The scandal stunned the public. And what happened next would shock everyone. In 2003, President Bush tapped Kerik to train Iraq's police force. There, he accepted a secret $250,000 loan from an Israeli billionaire, which he failed to report. Rumors swirled about his ethics. Then came the big blow. Bush nominated him to lead Homeland Security in 2004. Days later, Kerik withdrew, admitting he'd hired an undocumented nanny. That confession sparked investigations that unraveled his world. By 2006, Kerik pleaded guilty to ethics violations, paying $221,000 in fines. Worse came in 2009, 8 federal felony charges, including tax fraud and lying to the White House. He served 3 years in prison. But there's more. Kerik's former best man, Larry Ray, later convicted in a sex cult case, helped fuel those charges after a bitter fallout. In 2020, Trump pardoned Kerik, who then backed baseless voter fraud claims, cementing his polarizing legacy. Kerik passed away in May 2025 at 69, leaving a question: was he a hero undone by mistakes, or a man who betrayed the badge? What do you think his legacy should be? Susann McDonald. Ever wonder what it takes to become a legend in a niche world like classical harp? Susann McDonald didn't just play the harp, she redefined it. Born in 1935 in Rockford, Illinois, she picked up the instrument as a young girl and quickly showed a gift that would carry her far. Her fingers danced across the strings, turning delicate notes into powerful performances that captivated audiences. But her story isn't just about music, it's about resilience, influence, and a brush with disaster that could have ended it all. Let's dive in. McDonald's talent took her from small-town stages to global concert halls. By her 20s, she was performing with major orchestras and recording albums that showcased the harp's versatility. Critics raved about her ability to make the instrument sing in ways most never imagined. She wasn't just a performer, she was a trailblazer, proving the harp could hold its own in classical music spotlight. And that was just the start. Beyond performing, McDonald shaped the future of harp music through teaching. At prestigious schools like Juilliard and Indiana University, she mentored stars like Nancy Allen and Christina Braga. Her classes weren't just lessons, they were masterclasses in passion and precision. Students left her studio inspired, carrying her techniques to stages worldwide. But there was more to her influence than just teaching. McDonald took the harp world by storm in other ways. She founded the USA International Harp Competition, a platform that launched countless careers. As artistic director of the World Harp Congress, and honorary president of the Association International des Harpistes, she put the harp on the global map. Her work earned her a rare honor in 2008, the World Harp Congress Award, given to only 3 others. But something unexpected was about to shake her world. In 2002, a fire tore through the Indiana home McDonald shared with organist Diane Bish. Flames destroyed a Yamaha grand piano and a Rogers digital organ, but firefighters miraculously saved her prized harps. Both women escaped unharmed, yet rumors swirled online about what sparked the blaze. Some whispered about electrical faults, others hinted at foul play, though nothing was ever proven. What we do know: McDonald's spirit stayed unbroken. And that wasn't the end of her story. Her legacy only grew stronger. The 2008 award cemented her as a titan in the harp community, and her competition continued to nurture new talent. McDonald's work didn't just elevate the harp, it built a community that thrives today. When she passed in 2025 at 90, the world lost a giant, but her music lives on. So, what does it mean to leave a mark like McDonald's? Her life reminds us that true legends don't just play notes, they inspire generations. Who's carrying her torch today? That's a question worth thinking about. Al Foster. Ever wonder who kept the beat for Miles Davis during his wildest experiments? Al Foster, the jazz drumming legend, did that and so much more. He passed away on May 28, 2025, at 82, leaving a groove that shaped jazz for decades. Let's dive into his story. Foster kicked off in the 1960s, laying down crisp rhythms for hard bop stars like Blue Mitchell. His swing was tight, his style adaptable, making him a go-to drummer in New York's buzzing jazz scene. But things got wild in the 1970s, when Miles Davis tapped him for his fusion revolution. Foster's thrashing backbeat-powered albums like On the Corner, earning praise from Davis himself for his unshakable groove. Here's where it gets intriguing. When Davis vanished from music in 1975, Foster was one of the few who stayed in touch. That bond led to Foster drumming on Davis's comeback album, The Man with the Horn, in 1981, a feat no other musician matched. But there's more to the story. After Davis, Foster swung with giants like Sonny Rollins and Herbie Hancock, proving his versatility in acoustic jazz. His hi-hat work, pure magic. He wasn't just a sideman, though. Foster led his own bands, dropping albums like Mixed Roots in 1978, blending funk and jazz with fearless energy. In his final years, Foster was a fixture at New York's Smoke Club, mentoring young players and releasing soulful records. His death sparked tributes online, with fans calling his groove fiery and timeless. Al Foster didn't just play drums, he redefined rhythm. What's your favorite Foster track? Dive into his music and feel the pulse he left behind. Juan Manuel Eguiagaray. What kind of person steps into the chaos of Spain's most volatile decades and leaves a mark that's still debated today? Juan Manuel Eguiagaray, a Bilbao-born economist, did just that. His life wasn't just about politics, it was about navigating a country on the edge. Let's dive into the story of a man whose choices shaped Spain's past and sparked conversations that linger. But where did it all begin? Born in 1945, Eguiagaray grew up in Bilbao, a city pulsing with industrial grit. He wasn't just book-smart, he earned a PhD in law, an economics degree from Justo, and a diploma from France's University of Nancy. This guy was built for big things. By the 1980s, he was already a rising star, teaching economics and catching the eye of Spain's Socialist Party. But what came next would test his nerve. In 1991, Eguiagaray landed a major role as Minister of Public Administration under Prime Minister Felipe González. Spain was modernizing fast, but the economy was shaky, and political tensions were high. He stepped in to streamline government operations, a job that sounds dry, but was critical to keeping Spain stable. His work laid the groundwork for bigger challenges. And trust me, those challenges were coming. By 1993, Eguiagaray was tapped as Minister of Industry and Energy. Spain's industries were struggling to compete globally, and energy demands were soaring. He pushed for modernization, balancing old-school manufacturing with new tech. It wasn't glamorous, but his policies helped Spain stay afloat during a rocky economic period. Yet, something else from his past was about to stir up bigger waves. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, Eguiagaray's role in the Algiers talks with ETA in the late 1980s. As a negotiator for González's government, he sat across from one of Spain's most notorious groups during a time of brutal violence. Some call it a brave attempt at peace. Others say it was a risky move that didn't pan out. Either way, it's a chapter that still divides opinions. But that wasn't his only high-stakes gig. As the government's delegate in the Basque Country, Eguiagaray faced a region torn by conflict. The Basque struggle for autonomy fueled tension, and he was in the thick of it, representing Madrid in a place where distrust ran deep. It was a tightrope walk, balancing local demands with national unity. His time there showed his grit, but it also left scars that followed him. And what happened after politics? After retiring in 2001, Eguiagaray didn't fade away. He returned to teaching macroeconomics at Carlos III University, shaping young minds until 2006. He also took on big roles in business, directing the European Aeronautic Defense and Space Company until 2013, and led studies at Fundación Alternativas, a think tank pushing progressive ideas. His influence stretched far beyond politics. But how did it all end? On May 29, 2025, Eguiagaray passed away, at 79, leaving Spain to reflect on his legacy. Socialist leaders like Eneco and Weser called him a brilliant figure who fought for justice and democracy. Tributes poured in, praising his calm commitment and socialist values. Yet, his ETA talks remain a point of debate, with some wondering if his efforts could have changed Spain's path. And that's the real question. Eguiagaray's life wasn't just a career. It was a front-row seat to Spain's toughest years. From economic reforms to facing down violence, he made choices that still spark arguments. Was he a visionary, or a man caught in impossible times? That's for you to decide. His story challenges us to think about what it takes to lead when everything's on the line. What do you think his legacy means for Spain today? Ludo Dierckxsens. What makes a champion unforgettable? For Ludo Dierckxsens, it was his heart, his grit, and a smile that lit up the peloton. But when the 60-year-old Belgian cyclist collapsed during a charity ride in 2025, the world was left wondering what went wrong. Let's dive into the life of a man who defied the odds and left a legacy that still resonates. Ludo wasn't your typical pro cyclist. Before he became a Tour de France stage winner, he was a painter at DAF Trucks, not touching a bike competitively until his late 20s. By 29, he turned pro, proving it's never too late to chase a dream. His unconventional path made him a fan favorite, but it was his relentless spirit that set him apart. But there was more to his story than just a late start. In 1999, Ludo Dierckxsens reached the peak of his career. Clad in the Belgian champion's jersey, he soloed to victory on stage 11 of the Tour de France in Saint-Étienne, a moment of pure triumph. Fans roared as he crossed the finish line, his infectious grin stealing the show. Yet, what happened next would cast a shadow over his finest hour. Days after his Tour win, Ludo faced a storm of controversy. During a doping test, he admitted to using a cortisone injection for a knee injury before the race. Though his tests came back clean, his team, Lampedaking, sent him home, and he served a 6-month suspension. Ludo maintained he had a prescription, but the headlines lingered. Still, his fans stood by him, drawn to his honesty and warmth. And what happened next would shock everyone. After retiring in 2005, Ludo stayed close to cycling, opening a bike shop and launching his own brand. His passion for the sport never faded, and his teddy bear charm kept him beloved. He mentored young riders and shared his love for cycling with everyone he met. But in May 2025, tragedy struck during a 1,000-kilometer charity ride for Komop Tejan Kanker. Ludo was all in for the cause, posting excitedly about the ride just a day before. But on May 29, 2025, he suddenly collapsed on the St. Gillislaan in Dendermonde. Despite rapid response from emergency services, he couldn't be revived. The cycling world mourned, with tributes pouring in for the man Johan Museeuw called someone who always laughed. But questions lingered about what caused his sudden collapse. Rumors swirled online about the intense physical demands of the charity ride. Some speculated the 1,000-kilometer challenge was too much for the 60-year-old, even one as fit as Ludo. Without confirmed details, it's hard to say what happened, but his death echoed other recent tragedies in cycling, raising concerns about the sport's grueling nature. Ludo Dierckxsens was more than a cyclist, he was a symbol of joy and resilience. From a painter to a Tour de France hero, his journey inspired countless fans. His sudden passing reminds us how fragile life can be, even for the strongest among us. What's the one moment from Ludo's story that sticks with you? David Trist. Who's the forgotten genius behind New Zealand's only global cricket title? David Trist, a name you might not know, but one that changed Kiwi cricket history. Let's dive into his story. Born in Christchurch in 1947, David Trist was a fast-medium bowler with big dreams. Playing for Canterbury, he racked up 57 wickets across 24 first-class matches. But a brutal back injury, needing spinal fusion, cut his career short. The physical toll and raising 3 kids weighed heavy, and by 1982, his marriage had ended. Yet, this wasn't the end for Trist, it was just the start. Coaching became his calling. In 1989, he took South Africa's Eastern Province to a historic Currie Cup win, their first in a century. Trist wasn't just a coach, he was a game-changer, lifting struggling teams to new heights. And that was only a taste of what was coming. Trist's journey went global. He coached Hong Kong for the 1997 ICC Trophy, and took on the Netherlands, proving he could make magic anywhere. His international experience showed him New Zealand's potential, even when others doubted. But the real test was yet to come. In 1999, Trist replaced Steve Rixon as New Zealand's head coach. The Black Caps were underdogs, but he saw something special. His belief paid off in 2000 at the ICC Knockout Trophy in Nairobi. Against all odds, they beat Zimbabwe, Pakistan, and India in the final, with Chris Cairns smashing an unbeaten century. It was New Zealand's first world title, a massive upset. But here's the twist. It barely got the fanfare it deserved back home. Trist's 2-year stint wasn't all smooth. Losses to Australia and South Africa stung, and whispers of tension with selector Richard Hadlee surface. Some say his quirky, intense style, complete with wild conspiracy theories about umpires, ruffled feathers. And what happened next would shock everyone. After 2001, Trist stepped back from the spotlight. He coached at Christchurch's Old Collegians Cricket Club, and worked in India and England. Later, he settled on a farm, breeding cattle and caring for his wife with Parkinson's. He hadn't watched a full cricket match in years, but in 2017, he said, "Cricket's been kind to me." Sadly, Trist passed away in Christchurch on May 29, 2025, at 77. David Trist's story isn't just about a trophy. It's about a man who defied injuries, doubts, and odds to lead New Zealand to glory. Why don't we talk about him more? Maybe it's time we did. Robert Jarvik. Was Robert Jarvik a medical genius, or a man caught in controversy? The mind behind the Jarvik 7 artificial heart changed history, but his story is far from simple. Let's dive into the life of a man who pushed the boundaries of science and sparked debates that still linger. In 1982, Jarvik's invention made headlines when the Jarvik 7, an artificial heart, was implanted in Barney Clark, a retired dentist desperate to live. It was only the second procedure of its kind, and the world watched in awe. But the road wasn't smooth, and what happened next would test Jarvik's vision. Clark survived just 112 days, tethered to machines and facing constant hospital visits. Jarvik and his team faced a media storm, updating the world on every twist. Another patient, William Schroeder, lasted 620 days, proving the Jarvik 7's potential, but also its limits. The question lingered, was this progress, or a risky experiment? Then came the Lipitor scandal. In 2006, Jarvik pitched cholesterol meds on TV, but reports claimed he wasn't even taking the drug himself. Worse, a body double rode in his place during one ad, sparking accusations of dishonesty. Congress even questioned if he was playing doctor without a license. Pfizer dropped him in 2008, but the damage was done. Jarvik's personal life wasn't any quieter. After divorcing his first wife, Elaine, his bond with his kids frayed. A 2011 play by Elaine and their daughter laid bare his absence as a father. Yet, Jarvik found love again with Marilyn Vaux Savant, the high IQ columnist, in 1987. But that wasn't the whole story. Rumors swirled in his final years as Parkinson's took hold. Some online chatter suggested Jarvik was working on secret projects, or grappling with regrets over the Jarvik 7's flaws. Nothing's confirmed, but it's got fans talking. Here's what's being said and what we know so far. Jarvik passed in 2025 at 79, leaving a legacy of brilliance and debate. His artificial heart saved lives, but raised questions about the cost of innovation. What do you think? Did Jarvik push science too far? Or was he just ahead of his time? Rajesh. Ever wonder why some actors leave a mark you can't forget, yet never get the spotlight they deserve? Rajesh, the Tamil cinema veteran who passed away in 2025 at 75, was one of those rare gems. His 50-year journey through over 150 films is a story of grit, versatility, and quiet brilliance. Let's dive in. Rajesh started as a schoolteacher in Chennai, scraping by until a small role in Aval Ludo Dierckxsens in 1974 cracked open the door to cinema. But what happened next was unexpected. By 1979, he was leading Kanni Peruvathil, holding his own in an era dominated by giants like Rajinikanth and Kamal Hassan. His raw, relatable charm made him stand out. Soon, Rajesh found his true calling in character roles. Films like Satya, Mahanadi, and Viramandi showed his knack for stealing scenes, especially alongside Kamal Hassan. His expressive eyes could convey heartbreak or fury in a single glance. But there's more to his story. In 1985, he built a bungalow just for film shoots, a first in Tamil cinema, opened by M.G. Ramachandran himself. By 1993, he sold it to build a real estate empire, becoming a top builder. Off-screen, Rajesh was a thinker. He traded Christianity for Periyar's bold ideologies, and poured his soul into astrology, writing books that fans still treasure. He even dabbled in politics, backing Janaki in the late 80s. His personal life wasn't without pain. His wife, Joan Sylvia, passed in 2012, leaving him with 2 kids, Divya and Deepak. When Rajesh left us in May 2025, rumors of health struggles surfaced, but his legacy endures. Rajinikanth called him wonderful. So why do stars like Rajesh fade from the headlines? Share your thoughts below.